where we started yesterday. We had this long introduction. To be able to relate to the principle of Oineg and understand how this is both. On the one hand, it is the essence of life, and then at the same time the difficulty in understanding how that can trickle down and relate to a limited element in life, which is provided and affected by the function of the mamutza. And we've gone through this at many different levels, and we're talking now in general in all the world, Atzilus as being the mamutza. By the way, Atzilus in general is a madrega of Chochmah, and Bria is in general madrega of Bina. And thus, by pointing out that Atzilus is the mamutza ben Ayin Soif v'Nivroim, it is essentially pointing to the similar principle that we've been discussing the whole time. Ha-Chochmah is a mamutza between the nefesh, the Oineg HaNefesh, and all the koichos.
Atzilus is a memutza between what and what?
What?
Atzilus is a memutza
between Oineg Soif and creations.
Oh.
Except that in Atzilus, similar to Chochmah, but Chochmah we don't realize it. In Atzilus, we always say Atzilus, this is literally a lichus. How does Atzilus serve as a mamutza? Atzilus is, as he just finished saying, is completely beyond and removed from creation, from the worlds. It is not really a world in the true sense of the word. Where Oyin Soif is actually flowing through, is recognizing Atzilus. How does that become a mamutza? Essentially, the answer is, as we're going to discuss, similar to what we explained regarding Chochmah being mamutza. Okay, so we're on the line that begins Bein Ein Sof HaMatzil Nivroim, about a third from the top on page Lamed. V'hainu, and that is how does Atzilus become the mamutza? Yois the Atzilus who his galus the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, being that Atzilus is his galus, the revelation of Ein Sof. His galus means the expression of what is in the Ein Sof. Shabo mehahelem el hagil. This is the union for Atzilus. That in Atzilus the Ein Sof comes from Helem, from a state of Helem, to a state of Gil. This is discussed in Chassidus quite extensively, and the principle in this is that Atzilus is identical to that which precedes Atzilus. The difference is only that which precedes Atzilus, it is Behelem, and Atzilus, it comes Begil. Sheba me'ahelem al hagil. The most important element in this Helem, in this Gilui, and Kabba min ha'helem al hagil, clearly Gilui and Helem are quite different. In Helem, there is no cognizance of any content, and in Gilui there is, to whatever extent it is. But the most important point in this is the word Shabbat. that it comes. Coming means it goes through a process. It goes from one place to the other. Bo mehahelem al hagilui. And this phenomenon of coming, as we discussed many times, that in the phenomenon of coming, there are two principles. One is the source, that there is no limit to the source. It can provide unlimited oil inside. But where is it coming to? It's coming to a place where it is absent. And it's coming into there. So even though all of it is coming, the exact same thing comes in, but it comes in. Comes in means that there is that before it comes, it's not recognized, and as a result of its coming, it's recognized. Once we identify this process, then we already are identifying something that Nivroim can relate to. Because the primary principle of Nivroim, there are different madrigas, the primary principle of Nivroim is that this is an entity that came into being. It's not an essence, it came into being. As we discussed yesterday at great length, the phenomenon of chayus, of life, coming into being is an anomaly, in essence, because life is an essential being, and the real experience of life is only if we realize that there is this total source, not that it comes through a limited conduit. Like we say, breathing. There is the total, the unlimited presence of life. Except to you, it comes in a trickle. And therefore you have real life, because it's real life that comes in a trickle. And if you don't realize that there is real life around you, then the life that you have is not life. And this is the Indian that Atzilus. Atzilus is coming mehahelem. Helem means it's Israel inside. But it comes mehahelem el hagilui. And therefore it can relate to the Indian of Nifroim. And what is the principle of Gilui? What is the Helem and Gilui? So we will use the analogy that we've been discussing all the time. On the simplest level, we just spoke about life in a human being, where there's a real recognition in the flow of life that there is this limitless resource, the reality of life itself. And that comes through your nostrils, and that comes through a process. In this reality of life itself, there is no distinction between the life that is provided for the brain, for the heart, and for the hand and for the foot. There is no distinction. As a matter of fact, we know that the air that we breathe through our nose, that same air is actually encompassing our entire being. and it is the air pressure that's around us is at keeping everything, and keeping us alive, that's keeping us whole, just even on the body level. Except we breathe through the skin rather than through the nose. It's a different kind of breathing. But there is all the time breathing throughout the entire structure. Clearly, the breath that the hand is breathing is not comparable to the breath that the nose is breathing and providing it for the lungs and to the heart. There's no comparison. That's on the coming in. But the essential reality of it is identical to all of them. And this is where we have this phenomenon that something that encompasses everything is broken down into details. This is Menachem el Hagilui. Menachem el Hagilui. In other words, there are different levels of Gilui. In Nivroim, Gilui means the individual Nivro. In Atzilus, this is Menachem el Hagilui. It is the Helem which encompasses everything. In Gehelem, it is not everything. There is one entity of Ein Sof. Ein Sof automatically encompasses everything. It doesn't encompass everything because it contains everything. It's above everything. There's everything there, automatically. Now, Helem El Hagilui is when you recognize that it has everything. This is what occurs in this process of coming in. Because it comes, therefore you can identify there is a whole bunch of things over here. And principally the 10 spheres. But there's a whole bunch of things. And recognize that there are things rather than that there's one supreme presence. Okay, continue right.
Sorry, there was one point that that you made the point that everything it's identical by the heart and by that. It just what was the point that you're trying to bring out there?
No. The air that we breathe, the air that surrounds us.
Yeah.
Contains the life force for the heart, for the brain, and for the foot. Indistinguishable. As this life force is processed, is taken in, then there's a difference. Identified. Looking at hell of a Hagilui. For the total environment, and it's necessary that you know that it comes from a total environment. That's why this is Menachem. This is the real source of life. So that it's necessary to understand that life, even though in our personal experience there is a distinction between one level, one part of the body, another part of the body, life that's in the hand, life that's in the foot, and life that's in the brain. But it all comes from a source that distinct, does not distinguish it, that is superior to it. That is the reason that it's real life. If it were life that comes into the hand, or a life that is exclusively capable only moving the hand, it doesn't have the essential element of life, it's not connected to the real source of life, then it's not life. Which is how we demonstrated it another time, that a kohen in order to do Avodah has to be without blemish. And what is blemish? Blemish does not necessarily mean something that interferes with his actions. Blemish is any imperfection. What's so significant about this imperfection that the little toe in the nail is crooked? What's so significant? What is the point? The point is it's not representative of the perfection of life. At the level of the goof, it is really insignificant. Okay, let's continue on. The line begins Boruch. Alkein hareze bebechinas moki bichlal lehizavus. For this reason, because it comes me'halem alagilui, Atzilus is bibchinas, qualifies in being a mokoir bichlal. Bichlal means overall, lehizavus in general. In general, lehizavus, even though Atzilus is, I said this is above all worlds, but in general it is a mokil his habus. Why? Because in Atzilus there is a cognizance of content. And then from that element of tainuk that is present in the Atzilus, because at that time there is a cognizance that there is a content. But from that bechinas hatainug nimshochim are drawn kol hata'anugim shemibiyah. All the ta'anugim that are in the world bri yitzir hashir. Okay. And it has to be from this bechinas hatainuk shebelam atzilus, as we explained, just re-emphasize what we just finished saying. There has to be a sense in bria, in biyah, that it comes from that the tainuk that biyah experiences is a trickle down from a tainuk that is way superior, that is Olam HaAtzilus. So this continues on, but for our own clarity in the sense that we can actually focus in and understand what this is saying. It is that, as we point out all the time, when the Rambam says that the principle of all, the beginning of everything, is to know that there is a first being. This knowledge that there is a first being has no practical significance. Because this first being is completely remote. It's the first. It's something which is above Chokhmah. There's nothing that is identifiable that we can relate to. So all this is similar to what there is in that first being. And yet, that is the primary foundation, the primary reality. And no matter where we go, no matter to what extent we identify our own Metzias and Metzias of the world in the most minute, insignificant level, there has to be this connection to this first being. This first being permeates and percolates everywhere. And again, a real tangible means to relate to this is extremely simple. When you have a home, a house, and the house has four walls and a floor and a ceiling, and it becomes really a separate entity. And then you enter this house smoothly without any qualms. You don't have to go through any kind of transition. You came from the open space from the source of life into a finite entity. No transition at all. But why? Because this finite entity has an element of the whole resource. It's built in the big infinity. And there is always this connection, this similarity, this connection between this limited area, this demarcated area, and the total reality. As I point out, if you have a house, a perfect mansion, and it is built in a desert, it's not a human home. That's to put it on the simple level. If it's built in space, it's totally not a human, it's not the house. Don't enter a house. Enter a house that brings with it the oineg of living in the world in general. Okay. Continue. U'ba'atzilus gufo, in Atzilus itself, gilui ve'hamshochas hatainug. Within Atzilus itself, the revelation, the expression, and the drawing of the tainug into Atzilus. And we said in Atzilus there are different spheres. Hamshochas hatainug into Atzilus hu alidei mokir kloli. It is also via a general source. Again, the word kloli here is meant in a very, very precise implication. Namely, hakoilel kula. That includes all of them. There's a fundamental difference between saying something is above everything, where everything is totally united and there are no distinctions, there is no content, it's above content, or saying that it has everything in contextual manner. הכל וכולו, וממנו נמשכים בכל המדרגת דאצילוס בפרט. And from this mokir kloli, they are drawn, they refer to the various levels of tainug, are drawn to all the madrigas and atzilus. Bifrat, individually. It's important to emphasize that word also, that it is drawn individually, for although Bina recognizes the supremacy of Chokhmah, it does not want to be Chokhmah, it wants to be Bina. And it wants to take from Chokhmah only that which is profitable, which is acceptable to be. And the same goes to the other spheres. That's mean be proud. The who, and this mokir kloli, this is bechinas chokhmah ilo da'atzilus. This is the bechina of chokhmah ilo da'atzilus. Now this is chokhmah, wherever you meet up with it. Nevertheless, here we're referring to chokhmah with an added qualifier. That's called chokhmah ilo. That within Atzilus itself, this is chokhmah. And we said before, Atzilus in general is the level, is the madriga of Chochmah. Atzilus stays connected to its source, that's why it's called Atzilus. And we mentioned the other day Eitzel, it stays close to its source. Therefore, it has the nature of Chochmah throughout, in all its qualities. Nevertheless, within that itself there is also Chochmah. And that Chochmah is called Chochmah Ilah, the supernal Chochmah. A supreme Chochmah. The whole Bechinas HaTorah D'Atzilus. And this is the Bechina of Torah as it is in Atzilus. Shebo V'al Yodo Nimshach Bechinas HaTainik. That in it and through it is drawn this element of Tainug from Keser, from the Etzem, and then into the rest of Atzilus. Ukmeish is boiliyil, and as we have explained previously, b'moshol, when we dealt with the moshol, b'nefesh ha'odam, but we use the nefesh ha'odam as a moshol for this phenomenon. So we explained the following. Shehanefesh misaneg b'chol minei yoinek. That the nefesh ha'odam, as it is functioning in the human being, misaneg, it actually experiences the significance and the beauty, b'chol minei yoinek, in all kinds of different experiences of life. B'chol ha'chusim v'ha'koiches. All the various oinig that are practiced, that are experienced, that are functioning in all the chushim and the koiches, and all the senses and all the koiches. The senses, we all know, means that which one senses directly, and koiches is that which one processes through some kind of a process, logical process. And the nefesh itself is misaneg, experiences the oinig that's in the chushim and koiches. And we ask the question that v'harei atainuk shebenefesh shebeyatzem hanefesh, but is it not that the tainug that is in etzem hanefesh, mushlol, is devoid mikol koyach proti, is devoid of any specific koyach. This was already discussed, but just to remind ourselves, the reason that we say the nefesh, Tainuk nefesh, is mushlol, mikol koyach proti, is devoid of any koyach proti, is that it is totally out of place to mention any koyach proti. Like we said, from the nefesh perspective, the nefesh senses to be in the entire world in the same instant. For example, to say that you can move from one place in the world to another is a total anomaly. What are you talking about? Moving where? You'll understand this. I know what you're talking about. There's nothing to get to know, because everything, the entire reality is present right there. And yet this tainug that we are talking about, as it is manifest in the individual senses and koichos, bo behagbolo b'koichos proti, comes and expresses itself behagbolo in a finite manner in koiches proti, in individual koiches. And as we pointed out, it identifies with the kochis prot.
Okay. This the line before that said nefesh mesana v'kol minei oineg. This is like
I'm
this is
saying I'm going to leave it for tonight. Sorry. I was going to finish the muscle, so we won't. Okay, we'll finish tonight. Okay, this is it for this morning, and next time tonight we'll continue. Have a good day.
Did we obtain a sponsor for this Shabbos for bringing?
yeah. There's I and
Baruch Bush.
yeah,
Where?
as basically